There is a strange fascination with darkness. We are drawn to lists of names, secret documents, scandals, and revelations of power abused. It is as though we believe that exposing depravity will somehow purify us. But what if the deeper question is not who is mentioned in those files, but who is not? Welcome to We Have a Spiritual Problem, a podcast where we confront the deeper questions beneath our personal struggles and collective crises. I am your host, Dr. Jeff Armstrong. I am not a theologian or a philosopher, or at least in training. I am a PhD exercise physiologist with an interest in the intersection of the physical and the spiritual. In this episode, I want to explore a provocative idea. We have a spiritual problem is not mentioned in the Epstein files. And that absence points to 10 things our world desperately needs if we are to evolve spiritually beyond exploitation, domination, and secrecy. There's a reason the Epstein files have captured the imagination of the world. They read like a dark gospel of modernity. Power, wealth, sex, secrecy, elites, and moral collapse. They feel apocalyptic, revelatory, almost biblical in their exposure, a modern Sodom and Gomorrah. But I want to suggest something unsettling. These files are not revelations of a new evil. They're reminders of an old one. They're not evidence of human evolution gone wrong. They're evidence of human spirituality never fully evolved. We have more technology, more wealth, more reach than any civilization in history. And yet in the shadows, we find the same ancient impulses: domination, exploitation, secrecy, appetite without conscience. The Epstein files are not evolutionary artifacts. They are anthropological fossils, evidence of humanity's oldest temptations amplified by modern technology. In Christian theology, this is the doctrine of the fall. In Jewish theology, it is the Yetzer Hara, the inclination toward evil. In Islamic theology, it's the nafs, the lower self. In Hindu and Buddhist tradition, it's ignorance and craving. Every spiritual tradition agrees on one point: left uninformed, human desire tends towards domination and consumption. St. Augustine called this concupiscentia, disordered love. We do not stop loving. We simply love the wrong things in the wrong order. We love power more than justice, secrecy more than truth. St. Aquinas refined this insight. Sin is not choosing evil for its own sake, but choosing a lesser good as if it were the ultimate good. Pleasure is good, influence is good, wealth is good. But when they become ultimate, they become idolatrous. The Epstein files reveal lesser goods enthroned as gods. This is not evolution. It is spiritual regression dressed in sophistication. Teilhard de Chardin envisioned humanity moving toward the omega point, a convergence of consciousness, love, and divine union. The Epstein world is not moving toward the omega point. It is orbiting the reptilian brain with private jets. This podcast has repeatedly returned to one central thesis: spiritual maturity is relational maturity. The Epstein system was built on transactions, bodies exchanged for access, silence exchanged for privilege, influence exchanged for compliance, youth exchanged for power. This is a market theology where everything, including people, is a commodity. Martin Buber distinguished it between I, it, and I, thou. Transactional relationships are I, it. People become objects, instruments, resources. Transformational relationships are I, thou, encounters between sacred objects. In Christian theology, the highest relational form is covenant, not contract. Contracts are transactional. Covenants are transformational. Contracts ask, what do I owe you? Covenants ask, who are we becoming together? Dietrich Bonhoeffer warned against cheap grace, benefits without transformation. Transactional relationships are cheap grace. Transformational relationships are costly grace. They require vulnerability, truth, repentance, and mutual becoming. Spiritual evolution is relational evolution. In this episode, I would like to share 10 signs of spiritual evolution that are absent from the Epstein files. Number 1, humility before God, cosmos, and others. Humility is foundational across traditions. Philippians 2 describes Christ's kenosis, self-emptying love. The Desert Fathers consider humility the first virtue. Buddhism speaks of non-self. Power without humility becomes idolatry. Number 2, the sacredness of the human person, Imago Dei. Genesis declares humans made in the image of God. Eastern Orthodoxy speaks of theosis, participation in divine life. Catholic social teaching calls dignity inviolable. To exploit a person is theological blasphemy enacted in flesh. Number 3, repentance and metanoia. Metanoia is not guilt. It is transformation of mind and being. Jewish teshuvah is returning to the right path. Secrecy blocks repentance. Without repentance, power calcifies into pathology. Number 4, power as stewardship and vocation. Jesus rejected domination. Aquinas argued power must serve the common good. Paul Tillich insisted power must be united with love or it becomes destructive. Spiritual evolution reframes power as responsibility, not entitlement. Number 5, reverent consent as sacred freedom. Free will is central to theology. To violate consent is to violate divine gift. Reverent consent recognizes the other as sacred object, not merely autonomous individual. Number 6, examination of conscience. Ignatius Examen, Puritan introspection, Buddhist mindfulness all converge on one truth. Awareness precedes holiness. Unexamined desire becomes demonic desire. Number 7, sexuality as sacrament and communion. Christian theology sees sexuality as mirroring Trinitarian self-giving. Jewish mysticism links erotic union with divine union. Hindu Tantra sees sexuality as cosmic energy. Consumption of bodies is the desacralization of Eros. Number 8, truthful community. The New Testament koinonia is a truth-based communion. Bonhoeffer warned that communities built on lies become tyrannies. Epstein's network was an anti-church. Communion through secrecy. Number 9, preferential option for the vulnerable. Prophets condemn exploitation of the poor and stranger. Liberation theology insists God sides with the oppressed. Jesus identifies with, quote, the least of these, end quote. A civilization that exploits the vulnerable is spiritually inverted. Finally, number 10, redemption and integration of the shadow. Jung's shadow integration parallels Christian sanctification and mystical purification. Gregory of Nyssa spoke of the continual ascent toward God. Spirituality transfigures desire. It does not indulge in it. The Epstein files force a theological anthropology question. Are humans clever animals with appetites? Or are humans spiritual beings called to communion with God and each other? Augustine said that the human heart is restless until it rests in God. Karl Rahner called humans hearers of the word. Teilhard saw humanity converging toward Omega, love and consciousness unified. The Epstein world is not converging, it is fragmenting. It is anti-theosis, dehumanization rather than divinization. Spiritual evolution is not technological progress. It is conversion of desire. It is movement of domination to communion, consumption to covenant, secrecy to confession, ego to God, transaction to transformation. This podcast has explored SPIES integration, transformative living, shadow work, and spiritual growth. The Epstein files represent disintegration, body, mind, community, and transcendence fractured. Biblical prophets held up mirrors, not microscopes. They named systemic sin. The Epstein files are a prophetic mirror. Eroticized power, commodified bodies, elite moral exemption, structural secrecy, collective denial. Tillich describes sin as separation from God, others, and self. These systems institutionalize separation. The Epstein files are not the future. They are the past with better technology. They show what happens when sex is detached from meaning, power is detached from conscience, wealth is detached from responsibility, desire is detached from love. But they also reveal, by contrast, the path of spiritual evolution: humility, sacred dignity, repentance, stewardship, reverent consent, conscience, sacred eros, truthful community, compassion, redemption. The real spiritual problem is not that Epstein existed. The spiritual problem is that his world still makes sense to us. A spiritual evolution begins when that world becomes not only illegal, but unimaginable. When relationships are no longer transactional, but transformational. When power is no longer domination, but service. When desire is no longer consumption, but communion. That is the movement toward the omega point. That is the arc of spiritual evolution. And that is the work before us.